Men were killed. Philosophers' ideas were shattered. Mathematicians were baffled. And even the very existence of God was questioned. And all over what? That's right, nothing. Zero. The idea of zero is natural to us today, but for ancient peoples, zero was a foreign and even frightening concept. The beginnings of mathematical thought centered around the need to record the passage of time and to keep track of property, particularly sheep. None of these tasks required the use of zero, and civilization functioned perfectly well for millennia without it. Many primitive languages only had terms for 1, 2, 3, or many, and lacked any terms for higher numbers. Before long, this evolved even further into a base 10 number system. Apparently, ancient peoples liked to count with their fingers and toes. Throughout this entire process, something is lacking. Our friend, zero. It was just not important to keep track of 0 sheep or tally that you had 0 children. Zero was just not needed. Egyptians were the thought leaders in early mathematics, but the Greeks followed close behind, both using a tallying base 10 number system. While the Egyptians used pictures to represent numbers, the Greeks used symbols. But both systems had problem with higher numbers. They simply required too many characters or symbols to denote higher numbers, and those characters repeated frequently. Zero, or the concept of zero, first appeared on the scene in the Babylonian numbering system. The Babylonian base 60 number system used symbols similar to the Greeks, and had developed a clay tablet to help them count. But they had a problem. Their counting device resulted in symbol sequences representing different numbers. That is, until they introduced a symbol to represent an empty space, not zero as a number. To the ancients, there was a fear of the primal void, or chaos, and since zero was linked with nothing, or the void, it was feared. The axiom of Archimedes states that you add something to itself enough times, it will exceed any other number in magnitude. Simply stated, add a number to itself and it changes. 1 and 1 becomes 2, 2 and 2 becomes 4, but 0 and 0 is still 0. Now consider multiplication and division. Take the equation 1 times 2 divided by 2. The multiplication doubles the number, but when we divide by the same number, we, in effect, undo the multiplication and return the number to its original state. Not so with 0. Start with 1, then multiply by 0, and our result is 0. Our 1 has vanished. Now divide by 0 to undo our multiplication. But our result is still 0. Our 1 is gone. In effect, 1 equals 0. Dividing by 0 has the power to destroy the entire foundation of logic and mathematics. With the following assumptions, 0 times 1 equals 0, and 0 times 2 equals 0, the following must be true. 0 times 1 equals 0 times 2. When simplified, yields 1 equals 2. The Greek thought universe created by Aristotle, Pythagoras, and Ptolemy rested upon the basic understanding that there is no void. Because of the Greek influence on Western civilization, the idea of zero was rejected. The philosophy of Pythagoras and his followers was that all is number, and that ratios controlled the universe. But the ratio of 0 to anything, 0 divided by a number, is always 0. In the Greek sense, this would defy nature. 0 was dangerous to the brotherhood of Pythagoras, as it proved the golden ratio was in fact an irrational number. The entire cult was sworn to secrecy, and when Hippasus of Metapomptum declared he was going to let the secret out, the brotherhood drowned him by throwing him overboard from a ship. Oddly enough, Pythagoras' doctrine became the centerpiece of Western philosophy, that the world was governed by ratios. Enter Zeno of Elea, a philosopher called by his contemporaries the most annoying man in the West. Annoying because he proposed a paradox that proved the impossible. all thanks to the fact that until now 0 had been rejected. According to his most famous puzzle, the Achilles, Zeno proved the swift Achilles could never catch a tortoise with a head start in a race. In the first second of the race, Achilles makes up half the distance, but the tortoise has moved ahead 1/4 of the distance. In the next second, Achilles makes up another half the distance, but again the tortoise has moved ahead another 1/4 of the distance. Mathematically, Achilles, the swift runner, can never surpass the tortoise because the fractions of separation continue to grow with no end in sight. Now in the real world, Achilles would obviously overtake the tortoise, hence the mathematical paradox. The Greeks were stumped by the problem, and the source of their troubles was infinity. They did not have 0, and that was the key to Zeno's paradox. Infinite terms, when added together, can sometimes produce finite results, but the terms added together must be approaching 0 as a destination. The Greeks could only see the numbers getting smaller and smaller into infinity. Without 0, there was no destination and no answer to the paradox. That was until Aristotle. Aristotle believed the universe was composed of a finite number of spheres, and beyond the last sphere was where God existed. He rejected 0 and rejected infinity. He disproved Zenon's paradox by stating that infinity did not exist in reality. Aristotle simply wished Zenon's paradox away by stating it was only a construct of human mind. Aristotle's views were extremely successful, and questioning them was equal to questioning the existence of God. The only problem was that Aristotle's views rejected both 0 and infinity. When you reject 0, you imply infinity, because without 0 there is no beginning, no creation. While the West feared the void, or 0, the East embraced it. In India, a numbering system flourished that did more than accept 0 as a placeholder, but instead elevated its status to that of a number.
Well, here we are. The first undisputed example of India's greatest invention. The new number. The holy grail of numbers. 0. For the first time in human history, someone had made nothing a number.
With the rise of Islam, the West was introduced to the Indian numbering system. An Italian trader named Leonardo of Pisa is credited as the man who reintroduced 0 to the West. He traveled to northern Africa and studied mathematics from the Muslims there. He wrote a highly successful book on animal husbandry. The book showed how useful Arabic numbers were for performing complex calculations. The Italian merchants and bankers quickly seized upon this new system, including 0. After being rejected for so long, the use of 0 had finally found its way into the modern world.
All of today's technology depends on the existence of 0. Almost everything that is done using computers, any kind of digital information, all of it depends on the fact that there's a 1, 0. It's the same thing as on and off.
Men no longer feared infinity, and while 0 still had the potential to defy logic, we were finally able to advance our mathematics beyond the simple concept of shape manipulation. We were free to develop advanced computer systems, explore the universe, and develop a better understanding of the world around us.
And nobody really knows how wonderful you are, why we could never reach the star without you.